Joining me today, we have the number 4 seed on the women's side, Cal Poly Pomona Broncos. Representing the Broncos today, we have head coach Danelle Bishop and senior guard Allie Bates. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Well, we just want to hear a little bit about journey of the Broncos this year. I'm going to probably start with just a simple question. Coach, could you just take us through a little bit of this year? Well, you guys were coming down to the final game for seeding. Everyone mattered. Just talk to me about your team this year.
I honestly feel since COVID, it's been just COVID was adversity. We came back from COVID last year, had a lot of adversity with, a lot of things people don't know. And then came back, started off the year. We had some great wins opening weekend against some regional teams. Had a couple other, I think, really good wins right before the Christmas break. And then we've kind of just had a lot of injuries between, a meniscus, concussions, things like that. And you could kind of see maybe, just looking at our record and how it went, maybe where it kind of hit us a little bit harder and where it didn't. But I think what it really shows is that our team is resilient, and we have Allie's one of our, she's on our leadership committee, one of our top leaders. And I think having people like her and a couple of our other leaders and some of our upperclassmen, I think just really just trying to rally together, stick together, has really, to be quite honest, just helped be able to push through, I guess you could say, a little bit easier, although it has not been easy at all. Chico's a really good team, and our players knew that was just a really big game. Not only just for conference and conference tournament, but also the NCAA wise. And so I was just happy. It was senior day. It was a big weekend, and I was just really happy for our seniors. And, we didn't necessarily play the greatest, but this time of year, the term survive and advance is such a true statement. A lot of teams are dealing with either nagging injuries or other injuries. And and that's what we did. We didn't play our greatest. I don't even know if, neither team shot the greatest, but we were able to pull out the win. So it was really good to see our team be able to do that, because I told our team after the game, I don't think a month ago where we were at, just injuries and adversity. And we use the quote all the time, mental is to physical as 4 is to 1. And that's what we showed in that game on Saturday. And it was pretty awesome to see as a coach, to be able to see your team mentally be able to kind of push through the adversity we were going through just during that game. So I was really proud of them. And I always ask the team, like, did you guys see it? Did you see it too? Because it's one thing if I see it, but it, when the team sees it and they're able to hold on to that, man, that's exciting. And I think you can really start going places after that.
Thank you so much. Allie, I want to hear a little bit from your side of things. Coach is talking about coming back from COVID, kind of rebuilding. There's a point of adversity, stuff like that. But I want to hear what, in kind of this rebuilding process, what do you want the identity of your team to be? If another coach from the GNAC or somebody outside the region is scouting it, what do you want to say the Broncos are all about?
I think something that we really talk about a lot in our locker room, before practice, after games, whenever we get a chance, is just the family unity. We want our team to be united. We're losing together, we're winning together. Everything we do, we're doing it as a group, which is hard to do through all the highs and lows that you face in a season. But I think that we want that to be a main identity for us. We want to be a really good defensive team. So we want to be keeping our opponents under a certain score, being disruptive, getting stops. When we get 3 stops in a row, we call it a turkey. So we aim to get a lot of turkeys. And then we just want to let our defense fuel our offense. So something that we've been really talking about too, especially through the last month and a half where we were struggling, was having a dog mentality. So just coming out, like every loose ball, every offensive rebound, we're fighting 40 minutes of the game. So I think that's what we're aiming for. It's never perfect, but that's what we're always trying to encapsulate within the team. So, yeah.
That's good. Janelle, last year, you guys maybe relied on Allie to score a little bit more for you. You guys maybe didn't have as many weapons. But when I look through your team this year, I think you guys have 5 players all averaging 8.5 or more points a game. And I mean, in that course of it, it seems like there's some pressure off of Allie. Could you just talk about maybe the development throughout the year and how much more helpful it is to have a couple extra threats out on the court?
Yeah, and that's how our teams have typically been. I think that probably the last, just pre-COVID, we had about 3 years in a row where, I think we had 5 players averaging like 10 to 12 points a game. I think it just really makes us hard to guard because I think just, the other night, great example. Well, since we've had Donjay Payne out, she's been out pretty much since like December 8th.
Oh.
And we're hoping to kind of get her some minutes in, but she was a pretty big inside presence for us and kind of opened things up a little bit more for Allie. And since then, teams have really been kind of honing in on Allie, but I think they've figured out now it can't really just hone in on her, that we do have other people. But with that, it's made Allie, I think, just that much better player. Like, I'm on her all the time. Like, she's smiling right now. She's probably not always smiling, but like for rebounding, like, I think she's a great rebounder. And I think she's really proven that over the course of the last month and a half, just because she's had to. But also making sure that, like, she's not just a 3-point shooter, that she's a 3-level scorer and she's capable of doing that. And I think that she's proven that in, especially these last couple of weeks, she's kind of just putting in more work in that area. And I think that's making her just that much more tough. But just going back to the other night, I mean, I think Bree Ha had her, it might've been season high or close to her season high. And, it was tough because our lineup was just causing matchup problems, and it just happened to be her night. And so our players were just kept trying to find her and feed her the ball. And so I think it's really nice when you have a good core group that you have, that are able to score and able to rebound and do those things. Cause I just think it makes it that much tougher matchup wise.
Fantastic. Allie, I'd like to ask you just basically about, I don't want to say this in a bad way or anything, but obviously the state of the Pomona program has always been up there, always been one of the top ones in the CCAA. How important it is for the program to get back in the CCAA tournament, get back to that playoff berth, because let's be honest, missing it last year was it was an exception to the rule rather than what usually happens.
Yeah. I think for our team this year, we kind of started again. We had a group that was core from last year, but we were really bringing in a lot of new people. Our starting lineup was transformed. And I think that we just basically, like you said, last year was an exception to the rule. So we were basically building off of what the tradition and the culture has usually been at this school. So being able to get back into the tournament, it's on the horizon, but I think also our goals have been so much greater because we knew we had that capability this year. Last year, I think it was just considering how the game and the season went, we almost made it to the tournament anyway. So I think being able to get there, lock it in a few games in advance and just have that that ability to know that we were going already now is letting us focus on not only the tournament, but then what could happen potentially after. And being able to be in the running for all of that's really important for us, and just to have a chance to see how far we can go and compete with everyone else in the conference. So this year's been, while it has been a roller coaster as well, it's been the style of play and the way that we've been able to come out on top of games where last year we didn't. It's just been transformed, and it's really exciting that we get to go to the tournament and see what we can do.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Should be exciting on all that one. So I lost my blank. I had a quick question there, but I think I blanked on it. So I do have a question here for Coach Donnell. I want to come back to it. Coach, we can look at the box score. We can see the stats on there, but I want to know from your side of things, what's something that doesn't show up in the box score that you really feel is a strength of this team?
Well, we have a lot of those. We keep track track of deflections. We keep track of rebound attempts. So not only did you, if you didn't get the rebound, did you attempt to rebound and box out? I think in the, we've been playing a lot smaller, with our injuries, we've had to play smaller. So we've been kind of on our, it can't just be, Allie's like one of our bigs right now. She's really not a true big, but we've been on everybody trying to do that. So those are some statistics that you probably aren't going to always, you're never going to see on the stat sheet. I think just those hustle plays. So we have like a hustle award at the end of every game. So we track all that stuff during, we actually track our huddles, and some games we'll track high fives. We'll just pick like one player, see how many high fives that they gave out that game. Because we just want to see, like, those are important, valuable things that, I think, I kind of stole the high five thing from Steve Nash. And somebody, he had him track how many high fives he had in one game. It was something like, I don't know, I have to go back and look at the quote, but it was like close to like 200 high fives in one game. And just what kind of teammate that is, and how do you encourage encourage and uplift your teammates with just simple high five. So those are all things that we try to stat that you don't always, you're not going to always see just in that box score.
Well, thank you so much for this insight. I also just want to make a quick note on this one. I know we're talking right now about the CCAA tournament, but just the quality of the CCAA conference overall. Yes, you guys finished 4th in it, but we want to make a quick note that you guys are actually 7th in the regional rankings at this moment. I mean, that shows the quality of this conference. The CCAA has 4 of the top 7 teams in there of the entire region, and that's 36 teams or something like that total. So it's a quality league, and just want to make sure that fans know that it's not the 4th seed is very relative to what you have, and this is a quality conference. So Danelle.
Yeah, and so I think I told you last year, like, I serve on the chair of the West region, and so I get to see all these like behind the scene numbers that not everybody necessarily gets to see, and sometimes it could be kind of tricky. And then we have a national committee that now and then I go to, and it's an oversight committee of how our regional committee voted. And so I think what's important to note is, like, you mentioned how tough our conference was. I have to go back and look at the numbers, but I think we were something like 19-3 as a conference over, I don't know if it was just the Pac West or combined. And so I have to go back and look, because I remembered it earlier on in the year, but we just did phenomenal this year. And last year we didn't do as well. And I think a lot of it was just because, we didn't get to play the year before, where the other 2 conferences, particularly the Pac West, which is Allie, actually played that year at Hawaii Pacific. And so they got to play in some games and do stuff. And so I think it definitely kind of took a toll on CCAA early on last year. But I do think this year everybody was, just ready to go back at it. So we're happy about it, but we know that this is a big week, and we know that being 6, 7, or 8 really doesn't mean a ton going into this last poll. So we'll have the poll that comes out, it'll come out this Wednesday, and then there'll be another after the CCAA tournament. We'll meet all day Sunday. So it'll be a long day and try to get back at it. But we've just got, I just have to know, like, not only do we have some really good teams, but we've got some really good coaches in our conference. And, you look at what John Bonner's done from their record last year. I think they were like 14-14 or something like that. I have to go back and look to, I think they're 26-1 right now. They have some returners, and then they've added a few new players, and he's just done a phenomenal job. Just great coach. Renee's always up there. She's done a great job with her group. Torino's up there. I think Des coming in to the conference has done a really good job at Sonoma. And then, Brian Fogel, he's he's just old school, has always just done a good job with his team. So I think it's pretty exciting. I think, like I said, it's not just the teams. I think there's some really strong quality coaches in our conference as well.
And just on that quick note before we go,
I mentioned Torino at LA. I have to. Yeah, he's done. I don't. Sorry, I had to bring. He's done a great job. They brought in some great just players. And I think he's just been real steady. And you look at his team this year, like they're tough. They are tough. And so to see where they're at too, and what he's done, and his staff, like is pretty phenomenal. And sorry I didn't mention them earlier. They were on my mind. I was trying to think of where everybody was ranked at, but they've done a great job as well.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I remember from last year's all conference team, and there was, 15 of them were sophomores and younger. And I think this year's team, I've actually already done it. I think you have 2 seniors. Yeah. So they're all, like you said, quality, but it's also coming back in theory next year and stuff too. So.
Are one of those Ellie Bates, or is it too early to say, Danny? I'm just kidding. I'm hitting you on the spot. I know you can't give it out. You can't give it out. I get it.
All good, but there's always a chance you might be smiling again.
Okay. So. Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, both of you. Thank you for joining me today. This is wonderful.